Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the podcast. I'm your host, Ajoe21love, here with episode number 54 of Sports Over Topics. Got some good news going to the podcast today. Got some new regimes in the NBA, some NBA coaching vacancies filled. Talk about that. A little bit of a preview as well of the Stanley Cup. It's now set. The Tampa Bay Lightning versus the Montreal Canadiens. Go over that. Also, going over the main events of UFC on ESPN Saturday night. Ciryl Gane versus Alexander Volkov. Go over that and what's next. But again, thank you for joining me. If you're new to the podcast and you like the video, like. And if you want to see more, subscribe as well. Getting notifications and whatnot as for sports movie topics, my pro wrestling reviews, etc. With that, let's get into the news today on the episode, shall we? So, got some new regimes in the NBA today. So, Rick Carlisle first to go over with the Pacers rehiring, or you could say Carlisle coming back to the Pacers. Go over that. So, Rick Carlisle, the longtime former Dallas Mavericks coach, is now returned to Indiana to coach the Pacers. Now, coach for 13 years with the Mavericks, 13 seasons. He obviously helped guide the Dallas Mavericks to their NBA championship in 2011 over the Miami Heat, in part due to mostly Dirk Nowitzki and a great playoffs by him, as well as many others contributing, such as Jason Kidd, Tyson Chandler. But how convenient now that Kidd is now coaching the Mavericks, who was on that championship team in Dallas. Now, Carlisle returns to Indiana, who they have some working pieces they got. They got some good pieces. They fell short in the play-in tournament. Losing to the Wizards after being the Hornets. But they got some quality pieces. They got Malcolm Brogdon. They got Miles Turner. They got some good pieces. They just need, they let go of Nate McMillan, and he's doing a good job for the Hawks, who are currently in the Eastern Conference Finals against the Milwaukee Bucks. They hired Nate Bjorken for a season, but that quickly dispatched. Now they return to Rick Carlisle, and we'll see how things go. Like I said, they got some good pieces, Indiana, so we'll see. And then, as I mentioned, the Dallas Mavericks hired Jason Kidd to be their head coach, or their new head coach. And hopefully, because the Mavericks have been a steady team the last few years, especially with drafting Luka Doncic or with that trade for Luka in the draft. And he has just been ascending, and he's the face of the Dallas Mavericks now. And we know they were up 2-0 on the Clippers, and they fell short after. And I think that letting Seth Curry now get business money, letting Seth Curry go to Philadelphia was kind of indifferent. Was a bad move for the Mavericks. While it didn't seem like it, I think they missed them a bit as far as the playoffs are concerned. Now, they still have Luka. They still have Porzingis, who is not a big scorer, but can do his job. And of course, they got Tim Hardaway. So we'll see. But hopefully, with this new regime, as far as Harrison and Jason Kidd, they can finally add some new pieces to help around, or some more pieces is the word, to build around Luka and take that team to the next step that they need to take. And then lastly, Brad Stevens, his first real move from being appointed the president of basketball operations, they hired Ime Udoka, who was a assistant with the Brooklyn Nets. He has also been an assistant under Greg Popovich. They've spoke highly about him, and I mean, with the Celtics, again, sort of similar with they've actually done better than the Mavericks last few years, but in a sense, last year in the bubble, they lost in a close series to the Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference Finals. They've always been close. They've made it to the Eastern Conference Finals a few times in the last 2 years, and they have gone close, but since that 2007 title, their last NBA championship for the Celtics, they've gone close, but no cigar. And, when you look at the Celtics compared to that NBA championship team, they still got a ways to go in the helping build more pieces, because that 2017 team, they had Kevin Garnett, who's playing really good. Paul Pierce, Rondo, Ray Allen. I mean, they had pieces. I mean, whereas, okay, so Celtics now, you know, Jason Tatum, he's on the ascension. You know, they got Jaylen Brown. They acquired Al Horford in that trade. And the other center who is blank in my mind, his name, I forgot. I apologize, but they got some pieces, but they need, I guess, another alpha to really help. And when you look at the landscape of the East, it's going to be real interesting because the Hawks, we know, are still going to be here. Probably not to the Eastern Conference Finals, but they'll still be a playoff team. I see next year. The Bucks, I think, will still be the Bucks. Sixers, they'll still be here. The Hornets, I mean, yes, injuries down the stretch, they affect them, especially with Gordon Hayward. I expect they'll be the mix. Toronto, I don't think will be as bad as they were. The Miami Heat. I mean, the Celtics could definitely still be in the mix next year when you look at the landscape of these. But we'll see how Udoka does for the Celtics. Now, shipping away from the NBA's new regimes they're forming. Now, talk about the Stanley Cup for a bit. So, the Lightning versus Canadiens they're now set. So, first off, previewing the road, the Lightning. We know they're defending Stanley Cup champions. Now, this year they trend to the playoffs and they still look good as ever. Um, they took care of the Florida Panthers. They took care of the Carolina Hurricanes. They had a tight series with the New York Islanders, but they got it out and they're now on the doorstep of repeating Stanley Cup champions. But they are going to have an interesting test for between the Montreal Canadiens. The Canadiens, they've worked their way here as well. They took care of the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Winnipeg Jets, along with the Vegas Golden Knights, who were a tale of two cities basically when it came to two playoff series. So I think we kind of know here who's the underdog and who's the favorite between the Lightning and the Canadiens. But definitely don't sleep on the Canadiens, I would say. I'm not picking the Canadiens to win, but it would be almost a disservice a little bit to sleep on the Canadiens quickly, considering the road to the playoffs and the road here. But Lightning, it is crazy how they were basically the first domino to fall for this Tampa Bay, circuit of excellence, basically. I mean, as far as sports are concerned. Because Tampa Bay Lightning, they won the last Stanley Cup. Tom Brady comes to Tampa Bay. They win the Super Bowl. The Tampa Bay Devil Rays, they made the World Series. Yes, a losing effort to the Dodgers, but still, that is a interesting feat of going 2 out of 3 in those particular aspects. Now, we still have to see. Question is, can it happen again? I don't know. Well, for Tampa Bay, the Rays, they lost Tyler Glasnow to an injury. So we'll see how that affects them the rest of the way. In Tampa Bay, the Buccaneers, I think you're sure they're going to be favored again based on how many people they brought back this season. And now here again, Tampa Bay Lightning on the doorsteps of winning another Stanley Cup. We'll see if they can get it done. But I'm sure the Canadiens will not go quietly. So, that talk about the Stanley Cup. Now shift gears to Ciryl Gane versus Alexander Volkov. The main event of UFC on ESPN Plus last Saturday night was interesting, also an important fight in the UFC heavyweight division. Both top 5 opponents. Gane, it's crazy. He's still really young in his career, and how he's ascended already in the heavyweight division is a little remarkable already. And after notable wins over Junior Dos Santos and Rosenstrike, he comes in this big fight against Alexander Volkov, who is a former Bellator heavyweight champion, has fought with the best of them and at the top of this UFC heavyweight division. Coming off a big win over a almost surging Alistair Overeem. How would this fight between these two long strikers play out? Ciryl Gane, he edged it and got it done. Now, there are obviously strikes exchange. There They were changing pace. There was moments where Volkov, I thought, hurt Gane, but that was not the case. Gane stood in there. It's crazy. Only 9 fights, 9-0 in MMA. And, geez, he got done. Now, it wasn't like a one-sided, I would say, striking matchup. Volkov stayed in there, continued to land strikes, but the referees, from my viewing of the fight and how I read also the reports on the fight, I was surprised of the scorecards, seeing how one-sided they were, but nonetheless, Volkov, Gane got the decision. Edge Volkov. I mean, it's a little tough for Volkov because, this is like the third time when it's like, okay, if he wins this fight, perhaps he gets the next title shot. This is the third number one contender fight that he's basically lost. Because against Derek Lewis, he was dominating that fight, and then he got caught against Derek Lewis. Against Curtis Blades, he just got taken down against Curtis Blades. Now, in this fight against Ciryl Gane, once again, he comes up short. Although, this fight, I think, was the closest of the three. And I don't think Volkov falls mildly because of this, but it's a little disheartening for Volkov, considering once again against a top opponent, and if he wins, he gets the next crack at the title, but he loses, and then he has to regroup again. Although he won't fall mildly in the rankings, but he will have to get another few W's under his belt, probably 1 or 2, to get back into his position. So we'll see about that. Ciryl Gane, his meteoric rise continues. From what I saw, he called out Ngannou, said that he's basically ready, but it was announced yesterday or last night, whatever time zone you were at, that Ciryl Gane will have a quick turnaround, and he will face Derek Lewis in an interim heavyweight championship fight on UFC 265 come out 7th, which is, like I said, a bit of an early turnaround. That's only like a month. So, but he didn't look too injured or very staggered coming off that fight. So I guess he can manage it, but against Eric Lewis, and having a bit of an early turnaround is a very interesting task. So see how he handles it. I mean, considering this fight with Volkov, and he handled it pretty well, but no pun intended, Derek Lewis is a different beast. So I have to see about that. But that's basically all I have for the podcast today, guys. I will say that, nonetheless, if you guys like the video and want to support, like, and if you want to see more on the podcast channel, subscribe. Thank you for supporting this podcast today. Hope you all being safe. And hope everyone has a good 4th of July weekend. Of course, I'll be back on Thursday with your AEW Dynamite review. AEW is back on Wednesdays, so I'll be back on Thursday. Quick turnaround, but after Sunday. So thank you. I'll be back. Be safe and peace.